In example 1, we have a few systems of linear equations to solve, and we'll do these using substitution. So to use substitution, what we want to do is we want to get one of the variables by itself. I'm looking at this y right now. I think it's going to be the easiest one to solve for. With this top equation, if we solve for either y or x, we're going to have to subtract a term and then divide by that coefficient. Here, all we need to do is just add 2x to each side. So we've got y is equal to 2x plus 2. Then we're going to use this equation, and instead of the y, we're going to replace it or substitute everything that y is equal to. Y is the same as or equal to 2x plus 2. So they're interchangeable. Now we can use the distributive property and combine like terms. 6x and 4x is 10x. Then we'll subtract 6 and divide by 10. And we find x to be 1. We can substitute x into either equation. This one I think is going to be nice to use. I always go back to whatever is written in ink, but you can do either one really. So let's try that. Let's do negative 2 times x, which we think is 1, plus y is equal to 2. We're looking to find y here. So we'll add 2 to each side, and y will be 4. So the solution to this one is 1, 4. As our check, what we want to do is we want to try to use the other equation we didn't use just right then. So here we use this second one. We're going to use this one here. We're going to see if this works out. So we have 3y, and y is 4, and x is 1. So 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 1 is 4, and we've got 12 plus 4, which is 16, equal to 16. So this one is checked. This solution is valid for each one of these. As long as we did our math correctly here, we're good to go. Let's try the second one. This one, if I try to use the top one to solve for a variable, I'm going to have to subtract a term or add a term, and then divide by the coefficient. It's definitely possible to do, and that would be fine, but I think a more efficient way to do this is just to subtract 3y from the second one. And in one move, just subtracting 3y, we've got a variable solved for, and that's key for substitution. What we're going to do is the same thing we did above, and that's look at the other equation. This time we solve for x, so we're going to take x out, and we're going to substitute everything x is equal to into this equation. We'll use the distributive property. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6y. Negative 2 times 15 is negative 30. We'll combine like terms, then add 30. We find 10y to be 40. Divide by 10, and y is 4. We'll take that y and substitute it into either one. This one's going to be the easiest, but it really wouldn't matter. You could use either one. So I'm going to do 3 times 4 here, plus x is equal to 15. So we have 12 plus x is equal to 15. Subtracting 12, we find x to be 3. So we've got 3, 4 here for the solution. At least that works for this one, if we've done our math correctly from this point on, and it looks like we have. We want to make sure that this works for the other one though. So to check our solution, we'll just write this equation down, the one we didn't use last, so this one, and we'll replace those variables with what we think they're equal to. So the y is 4 for this one, x is 3, and hopefully we get 10 out of this. So 4 times 4 is 16, 2 times 3 is 6, and there's a minus sign there, and 16 minus 6 is 10. Got one last example here. In this example, even though the equation looks a little bit weird, we usually see the y is on the left and the equal sign is on the right, and then 3x minus 4 would appear. It doesn't really matter. We still have a variable solved for. So in this case, we actually don't have to make any adjustments. What we can do is write down the first equation, and instead of y, we're going to replace it or substitute 3x minus 4 right in that position. So we'll use the distributive property here. That's 15x minus 20. Negative 2x and 15x is 13x. Then we'll add 20 to each side. Divide by 13, and we'll find our x to be 3. We can take either equation to substitute in, but I think this is going to be the easiest one, the second one. So we've got 3 times x. We think x is 3, so we'll replace it with that, or substitute. And if we can solve this, we'll find y. So using a little order of operations work, we find y to be 5. So we think 3, 5 is the solution to this one. Let's use the other equation we didn't just use for our check. So we've got negative 2x, x is 3, y is 5. So we've got negative 6 here plus 25 should be 19. Negative 6 plus 25 is the same as 25 minus 6, and that's 19. This one's checked and good to go.